Now then, welcome to the latest edition of RedArmy.tv. It's a bit of a different one this week because the beast from the east means half the team can't even get into the studio, so you're going to have to put up with us around the round table. Got to say a big welcome to Dom Shaw from the Gazette, Borough reporter. Good to have you in the studio, mate.
Thank you, thanks for having me.
For the first time.
Indeed, absolutely.
Virgin at this, but
absolutely.
yeah. Following on from Vic, I'm sure you can be better than Vic, mate. And Phil Bullock from Red Army Social. Phil, welcome.
Thank you.
Monday night to a Wednesday night.
Oh.
I know, terrible. Fellas, Sunderland, we were there on the Red Army coach. Opportunity lost, Phil, was it, do you think?
Yeah, 100%. We went there with the intention that we'd already won before a ball had even been kicked. We thought it was going to be a much easier game than it was. And lo and behold, Sunderland pulled that out the bag and we ended up coming away with just a point.
Dom, from your perspective, I think I don't think there'll be a Borough fan on Teesside who doesn't think we should have come back with 3 points. Rock bottom, bereft of any confidence whatsoever, struggling for playing staff. It's one we should have won, surely, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You know, even and especially when you get your nose in front twice. You know, this is a team that when they fall behind absolutely crumble, particularly at home. I think the week before, Chris Coleman had admitted that he'd rather play away. That the team are scared or fearful of playing at home. So you think once you get your nose in front, they'd really kick on. But Borough aren't doing that at the minute, are they? I think that when they are getting in front, particularly in the second half of games, we've seen it at the Riverside, they almost settle for what they've got and look to see it out. And I think ultimately that cost them. Credit to Sunderland, mind. I thought Sunderland deserved a point, and I think they responded particularly well to falling 2-1 behind because, you know, 2 quick-fire goals, you think, you know, this could be whatever Borough want it to be now. But Sunderland kept at it, and I think the disappointing thing from Borough's point of view is the goals, particularly the last goal. You know, for McManaman to find himself in that space in the 96th, 7th minute, whatever it was. Yeah, that was pretty galling. So, yeah, absolutely 2 points dropped, opportunity missed again.
I'll grit my teeth when I say, yeah, OK, they deserved a point. But this fact, Phil, that the Borough take the lead and then they'll defend on their 18-yard box, inviting the teams to come forward. How much of that was costly?
Do you know what, we've seen it not just against Sunderland the last few games, or especially since Tony's taken over. We see that we get our noses in front, and whether it be 1 goal ahead or 2 goals ahead, we decide that we're going to sit back, we're going to park the bus, as everybody says. And don't get me wrong, it's nice to see that there is a vision on the pitch and there is a clear formation that the fans can see. But parking the bus so early on when there is only 1 goal in it is, for me, you can't do that. You need to be trying to shut these teams out, and especially when you're playing a team like Sunderland. It
would have been nice to have jumped into 6th spot though, wouldn't it? I know Sheffield United have picked up points and we're now 3 points adrift, but at the time, you know, a 3-2 win would have dropped us into 6th spot.
Yeah, it's just a boost that comes with that, isn't it? That gets you back in the top 6. And I think the other thing is getting successive wins. We haven't done that in an awful long time now, have they? So to get those 2 consecutive wins, I think it'd have been a big boost, particularly in what is a relatively kind run of fixtures. I know Leeds at home on Friday nights, it's a bit of a difficult one. I think there's a lot that surrounds that game, as it did Sunderland and everything that comes with a derby game. Well, I don't think Paul Heckingbottom will be denying it's a derby like Chris Coleman did last week. But then, you know, you look at the games after that, Birmingham and Barnsley, and this is an opportunity, and if Borough are going to strike, I think it has to be now, particularly with, you know, with Sheffield United. You think that they're falling out of it, but then you look and they've won 3 of their last 4 games now, so they're kind of not going anywhere soon. It's one of them, isn't it, where you keep thinking it's going to happen for Borough. I think now has to be the time where they make that charge.
Well, let's have a listen to the fans then. We did take the camera up to, I was going to say Joker Park, that's a long time ago, Joker Park, up the Stadium of Light. This is what you had to say after the game.
You don't let the team, with 30 seconds on the clock, last kick of the game, get a point out the game, do you?
To be fair, I thought we'd turn them over. The poor at home, the bottom of the league. I thought we'd get a good win today, but we made hard work of it, and then nearly last kick of the game, we let them equalise. It's disappointing.
The second half, I was in the bar. That was the best bit, when I'd heard that we'd actually scored and then we got the penalty. But I don't know, it was just like weird. The whole game was just lacklustre. The support seemed a bit lacklustre. It was like we were on a nothing until we got there.
They're a relegation team, and we should be beating a relegation team. So if we can't beat a relegation team, then we're not gonna go up, are we?
Where did it go wrong then for us?
That last-minute goal, back post. Defending was terrible. I can defend better than that kind of dad.
So disappointment then on the lips of the Borough fans. What about the gaffer, Tony Pulis? He's a slice of him talking about Paddy Bamford scoring a couple of goals from the press conference.
Yeah, a couple of good goals. I'm really disappointed missed that one when we were, what was it, 2 each at the time, or 3-2, you know, the one that come across. He got wonderful left foot, and that you know, that was all set up for him. Usually buries them. He's a 9 out of 10. Unfortunately today that was the 1 out of the 10 that he missed when it comes to those areas, because his left foot is so sweet. But no, I thought he played really well. You know, again, when they get the player sent off, it's 11 against 10. I know we're losing 1-0, but we started to build up some pressure, and you think it's just a matter of time until we get the opportunities and the chances. RedArmy gets sent off, and I thought the reaction of our players second half was absolutely first class. They come out on the front foot, really got after Sunderland, and we're just disappointed that we've not won it. But wonderful game for everybody else to watch.
So the gaffer focusing on Paddy Bamford, more about the miss than the 2 goals he scored actually. But Sombalonga goes off. We obviously have to rejig once Traore had gone off. But Paddy in the centre, a lot of fans have been asking for that for quite a long time. How comfortable did he look in your eyes?
Yeah, he did, didn't he? He looked like, I know this is the kind of easy comment to make on the back of 3 goals in 2 games, but it did look like the Patrick Bamford of the 2014-15 season. Now, I don't think I don't think Britt Sombalonga should be written off, because I think Britt Sombalonga is Borough's best striker. But there's no doubt in that Bamford is better through the middle. He's at home through the middle, and when he's got his eye in, when you can tell that he hasn't been himself the last couple of seasons. I think I read last week that he scored more goals last week than he did in 2 years in the league, which kind of puts into perspective the troubles he's been through and the difficult spell he's had. But yeah, I think that in Bamford he's got a real eye for goal, and he's got that element of class just to find a yard for himself in the penalty box. Now, I'm not convinced he's the answer in Pulis's system up front. And the problem you've got at the minute is if you do take him out of the left, you are potentially short of attacking midfield players. We don't know whether Jack Harrison's ready yet, for example. We haven't seen enough of him to comment either way. And Pulis, as we know, has preferred Stuart down in that central midfield role. So Bamford may well have to continue on the left. But I think he certainly sent a message to Pulis over the last week or so. That
first goal he took, the way he made that yard of space for himself in the penalty area, the little fleet of foot thing, I mean, it just shows he knows how to handle himself in those situations.
Yeah, he does, and actually when he first took it while he was backing into the player, I actually thought, oh, you've done a Britty, you're facing the wrong way, it's going to require an extra touch, then you're going to shoot and it's going to be well wide. But actually the class to get the touch he got on it, the turn, and it wasn't even a shot really, it was as though he passed it into the back of the net beyond the reach of the
But it was his right foot, wasn't it?
Who didn't even shoot. But, you know, my only concern now, yes, we've seen Patrick down the middle, and he looks good, but with Rudy now out potentially till the end of the season, that only leaves us with 2 strikers. And I think if you're going to play Paddy down the middle, I still think we need a striker on the pitch, which means that Britt will be used, but then it doesn't leave us an option or a plan B, as people are saying, on the bench. So, I'd you know, like you've just said, I think we'll see Patrick on the right and continue there, down and in the middle, until we can either bring somebody in or bring Jack Harrison up to speed, and then we can start playing Patrick down the middle. But I certainly like him coming straight down the middle of the pitch and showing us what he can do, which is what you said. It's class of 3 or 4 years ago now.
Let's touch on the elephant that's in the room. Traore's red card getting overturned. How surprised were you?
I was surprised. Yeah, I was surprised. From the replays, it's hard. It's incredibly hard to say exactly and to see exactly what went on. We know he raised his arms. Now it's hard to say whether he pushed him on the chest, whether it was the neck, whether it was the face. It
was a fairly forceful push, though, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, it was. It was. I mean, Pulis was adamant afterwards, wasn't he, that was retaliating to something that Brian Oviedo had said, but that doesn't excuse, he accepted that doesn't excuse what Traore did. That said, Borough were very confident that the appeal would be successful. There was absolutely no doubt that they were going to appeal, and when that appeal was in...
It seemed as though that appeal was going to be based on, well, he poked him in the eye.
Yes, yeah.
But again, that wouldn't negate what he actually did himself.
No, I mean... For me, I do wonder whether, obviously, when you're putting an appeal in, you have to prove that the decision was a mistake, basically. Now, I wasn't convinced that there was clear enough evidence to see that. Pulis said afterwards, didn't he, that he'd seen a replay that made him convinced that Oviedo had poked him in the eye, and that you know, Traore's action perhaps wasn't as bad as what the referee had initially made out. And we know that the referee didn't see it at the time. He'd taken the word of the assistant, who immediately flagged, didn't he? Called him over, and once he'd spoken to the assistant, the referee immediately went for the red. It's a huge boost, isn't it? I think it's probably an unexpected boost for most, but it's a huge boost because it would have been really damaging for Borough to be without Traore for 4 games.
Yeah, hugely. Phil, we'll get your view. I know we're both referees and we look at things slightly differently. We always argue in the office, us two, about refereeing decisions, and we're both former men in black. But we're going to take a break first. We'll just catch up on one or two messages. We'll also give you a bit of a advanced shout about what the Red Faction are up to. They've got a special evening coming up on Teesside, trying to raise money for the Teesside Hospice. I know they had the football game last week. They've got a decent do where you can go and have a beer and listen to some live music as well. We'll give you more details on that in part 2. Join us then on Red Army TV. Welcome back to part 2 of Red Army TV. Just before the break, fellas, we were talking about the Adama Traore red card being rescinded, and Dom, you gave us your thoughts. Phil, as a referee of huge ilk, what were your thoughts on it?
Do you know what I've seen? I didn't see the incident. I saw one replay. I think most other people have seen.
That's the one from behind the opposite goal, looking all the way down.
Yeah, zoomed right in, and don't get me wrong, you can clearly see an arm from Oviedo come up, but there is no way you can tell from that angle what it is he's doing, if he's sticking a finger in an ear or whatever. But I just thought that the way that Traore threw him to the floor, because it wasn't just a push off, it was you're going down for doing that sort of thing. But I think what more surprising to me is after he was shown the red card, the tantrum he had on the pitch. Now, if I'm the FA and I look at that and I go, all right, I can overturn the red card, but actually you try to get at the linesman, then you try to get at the fourth official.
Then you had to go at somebody on the bench, yeah.
Yeah, you had to go at Clayton,
yeah.
And then going down the pitch, kicking everything over. Like, I'd be saying there as the FA, well, we're not going to rescind it. We're actually going to enforce it because that's just as bad. He's 22, I think, just turned 23. And he's having a tantrum like a 3-year-old that's been told they can't have a chocolate bar.
How much of a boost is it, though, the fact that he will be available for Leeds?
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm over the moon that it's been overturned. And I think a lot of people have been saying if he'd have been on the pitch, he might have scored 3 or 4 goals. But even when he was on the pitch, he had 3 or 4 attempts before he was sent off. I think he's one of these, we're going to end up relying on him too much. And like we saw, cut him all straight across. The lad that got sent off for the tackle, that's the sort of tackling now, I think, till the end of the season. Not just Sunderland, but I think other teams are going to try and wipe him out because they know that when you look at Middlesbrough, he's the biggest threat.
That is a point, Dom. He is one of the biggest threats that the Borough's got. But everybody's now seen he can really throw a wobbler if you get to him. How much of a target will he become? I
think he will. I think it was clear that Sunderland were targeting him. Even from the fans booing him when they weren't obviously not happy with the Clark Salter sending off for whatever reason, because that is as clear a sending off as you will ever see.
Yeah,
isn't
I'd have got that one.
But yeah, I think. I quite like that side of his game, the fact he's fiery. I know it's let Borough down a couple of times this season, but I like that there's fire in his belly and that it does mean so much to him. You can see that side of him. But yeah, I think, Grant Ledbetter, he's the master of game management, isn't he? And he was first on hand, I'd seen, obviously, as captain when the referee went over to have a word with Traore. I think he will do all in his power to just kind of keep Traore, just to kind of keep his heart rate down, I guess, and to make sure he doesn't have too much of a fiery response and reaction to things.
The fact he's had to go through it, though, and he's got himself sent off, and he was full of it because he didn't think he should have been sent off. Do you think he could learn from it? Is it a bit of a short, sharp shock treatment that maybe you can learn from?
Yeah, I think the fear factor of almost missing 4 games when his career is finally taking off. Now that seems a bit daft when you think he's played for Barcelona and the likes in the past, but this is his first real prolonged spell, isn't it?
Yeah.
Of not just being in the first team, but playing a key role in the first team. Like you said, Borough's whole system is built around him. Tony Pulis has admitted that his plan is, when the midfielders get the ball, give it to Adama and let him on his way. Now I know teams can double up and the likes on him, but I do think there's an element of Traore where you can't really stop him, because I don't think he knows what he's going to do next, never mind the defenders who are trying to shackle him, who are trying to keep hold of him. And I think that's another beauty of Patrick Bamford playing well, is that when Borough have that extra balance, we've got Harrison to come in and down in, and that means teams won't necessarily be able to afford to stick 2 on him. So I think, again, hopefully Borough will benefit twofold in the coming weeks.
Okay, now just before we give you details of the Red Faction event, it's high time we caught up with social media. Mark's done his bit. Here he is.
Hi guys, and welcome to your world of social media. We'll start with Brian Ellerfield, who says, simply, the Mackhams are so desperate. Johnny says, seems that very harsh red for what was only a push. Could have been. Alistair Craig says, damn good game. Traore should never have been sent off. Don't know, sir. Good debating point, though. And Graham Simpson says, Traore red card overturned. Look out, Leeds. That does mean we've played 2 games with 10 men due to dodgy linesmen. Could be. See you next week, guys. Take care. Back to you, Dave.
Thanks for that, Bud. Right, the details for the Red Faction Night. It is their annual charity night in the borough. Liberty's in town, Linthorpe Road. It's on Saturday, the 17th of March. So that's coming up not too long away. 10 quid for a ticket for the night. And it's basically the Court Between Us, supported by Katie Adamson. I'm told they're very good. So get yourself down, raise some money for Teesside Hospice. It's great to see. Well done, lads. That's the Red Faction Night. Fellas, Leeds, they come thick and fast. It's like buses on Linthorpe Road, isn't it? Sunderland and then Leeds, 2 passionate affairs. Phil, start with you. What is it between Borough fans and Leeds fans? You had it on Monday night, didn't you, on Red Army Social? There you are, doing a Borough fans programme, and suddenly it was all hijacked, all the messages from Leeds fans. Yeah,
it was. I think they rest on the laurels from the history past, and I think they go on a lot about they're a massive club, but everything that they've done in the past is all about the history and whatnot, and that's what they seem to cling on to, as though they're this sort of invincible team. And I don't think there's a rivalry between Middlesbrough and Leeds. I think there is only one team, and it's Middlesbrough, purely because our history is a lot more recent than theirs is. But fans themselves, it's the same as Sunderland. Some will say it is a derby, some say it's not a derby. I'd just quite like to see a good, decent game of football where this time Middlesbrough get one over on Leeds.
I've got to disagree with you, actually. I think there is a huge amount of rivalry there, because I remember, I'm old enough to remember games from the 70s when we used to go down there. You could always guarantee there'd be a man sent off at Elland Road. They'd come up here, the fans would kick off, and so I think there is an element of rivalry. But what's your take on it, Tom? Why are these two sets of fans so passionate to square up against each other?
I think, as you touched on there, there's the history of the games. I mean, just going on my lifetime alone, you look back at the '97 game, obviously where Borough were relegated. Leeds fans weren't exactly a shoulder to cry on for Borough. Were they?
Janino sitting down, I remember. With his head,
and football fans don't forget, do they? And even then, I think, you look at games have been so fiery between them. I remember, I think it was the Marvin Emnes game, or it might have been the season before that, when there was about 3 men sent off. I think Justin Hoyt was sent off, or Tony McMahon was sent off. 3 men were sent off in that game, and I think you can just tell from the reaction of both sets of fans that it's a game that means an awful lot to both. I think there is that too big club element to it. Both with very good fan bases, both with very good away followings, and fans that will obviously the side clearly means a lot to every set of fans, but they're both really a strong local fan base, haven't they? So I think that, it's undoubtedly a derby in my eyes. Again, going back to the Sunderland thing, it might not be the derby, but I think it's a derby.
It's a cracking game. It always is a cracking game, and we were at Elland Road. Unfortunately for the 2-1 scoreline, but Borough didn't turn up for that one earlier in the season. We've also been out on the street just to get your views, and it seems to be a bit of a Yorkshire type feel. That's the result of this passion between fans. Take a look.
To tell you the truth, and though I'm a Borough fan, I'm actually from Leeds, but I want the Borough to win.
It's the same as where you get Sunderland, a lot of passion. You're not going to get away from that one.
Why is it such a passionate affair? Why do the fans not like each other?
I don't know, I think it's like women with handbags in it. With football, everyone looks forward to the fixture.
I think we class it as a local derby, don't we? I think because they're south of the region. I'll say Sunderland is our main rivals, but Leeds, it's historical, isn't it?
Well, you'd say it was a bit of a local one, wouldn't you? But according to Mr. Coleman, Sunderland's not local, so Leeds can't be local, can it? But I'm not sure, to be honest with you. It's just a good game, innit? Just one of the ones you look forward to.
See, it's North Yorkshire against South Yorkshire. That seems to be what people think. I'd like to ask a question ahead of Leeds. We seem to be tripping up ourselves. We seem to be sitting back. We seem not to be able to be taking QPR out of the equation, not to finish teams off very well. I've got to ask you, Dom, I asked this a couple of weeks ago on this show. Are we as good, squad-wise, as we all led ourselves to believe? Have we got this one of the best squads in the league?
Well, we're not, because you only have to look at the league table. I think on paper, yes, Maybe not so much now, but I think certainly because the squad's been trimmed and clearly, you know, the squad was too big when Tony Pulis came in. I think that was one of Gary Monk's problems. He had too many options and he knew what to do with. But no, we're not as good as what we thought Borough were going to be this year. Absolutely not. I thought Borough were nailed on for automatic promotion at the start of the season, and that's naive, having been, you know, having watched Borough struggle for those 7 years.
I thought the same.
But on paper, and it's not just Borough, you know, when you speak to reporters who cover opposition clubs every single week, they'll be, you know, what's going on at your place this year? We expected Borough to be right in there with Wolves and whatnot. But I think there was probably a moment of realisation, however long into the season, that, you know, we're kind of waiting for it to click, and then you realise, well, maybe it's not. Maybe we're not as good as what we think we are.
Well, maybe it'll click this time against Leeds on a Friday night. Sky cameras there. Who knows, the whole of the nation watching, providing, of course, we can get rid of the beast from the east. Phil, what's your prediction? What are you thinking? Leeds?
Ooh, I think I said on Monday night that we would win 4-0, so I'll stick with 4-0.
4-0?
Patrick Bamford, hat-trick, Danny Ayala the fourth.
I don't know where to go from that. Dom, where are you?
How do I follow that? 2-1, I think. 2-1 Borough. I think it'll be a good game. I think it'll be a tight game. I think Borough will just edge it. And I fancy Bamford to score again.
Oh, good man. Well, I'm going for 2-0. It's high time we did Leeds again. We did them last time at home. They have got the advantage over us this season. Fellas, we're out of time. Thanks for coming in. Phil, good luck on Monday with Red Army Social. That's forthcoming. Dom, good luck reporting on the Borough.
Yeah.
Be good to see you back in, mate.
Yeah, it'd be good to be back.
Thanks for your time. And we'll catch you next week, same time, same place.